Comics Plus, what's going on? My name is Akasan. And we just got finished watching and streaming Godzilla versus Kong. One will fall, and boy, did they fall. I'm going to try to make this as non spoiler as. No, you know what? I think for the most part, this is going to be a spoiler review because I don't think I'm going to get into a long discussion with the Comics Plus crew or anything like that. But I just want to tell you what I think. The first part, for the most part, will be non-spoiler, and then I will warn you once we get to the back. But I do be careful about the comments that are popping up on the side because we're just doing this live. In fact, I'll probably just turn it off for now. And then when we get into the spoiler, we'll talk about it. So, Godzilla versus Kong. Going into this movie, I was a bit worried. I thought that they were going to treat my boy Godzilla bad. I've been Team Zilla for the longest time. Like everybody knows that. I loved Godzilla 2014. I loved King of the Monsters, and I was really worried that they were just gonna basically make Godzilla the villain of this story. They were focusing a lot on Kong, and for the most part, this movie does do a lot of service for Kong. Keep in mind though that we've had already two Godzilla movies, and so Kong has only had one movie, and that was back in the past, I believe in 1970 or 1980, maybe 1960s or so, I don't remember. So they needed to kind of update us about what's going on with Kong and what's going on with Skull Island, all that other stuff, right? So I feel like for the most part, the storytelling on that side was pretty fair, right? Pretty fair. Is Godzilla a villain? I would say he's essentially portrayed as a villain for the most part, but he has his own defenders in terms of like people know that something is up, like something's like provoking him, and it goes back to 2014. Even 2014, Godzilla 2014, and even King of the Monsters, it's like, look, man, like, you don't keep on kicking a beehive's nest. Like, Godzilla will appear when there needs to be balance, right? Godzilla will appear to restore that balance and protect his block. And his block is the entire goddamn planet Earth. That's essentially what's going on with Godzilla. Like he was we saw him in I think we saw him in the Pacific Ocean in a minute. Then he was like, skirt, let me go over to Hong Kong for a second. Skirt, let me go whoop some ass over here. It was great, man. I loved every moment of it. And so as a Godzilla fan, I thought that they handled it very, very well. His particular situations. And then the fight scenes were amazing. Overall, most of them were were done very, very well and very, very credible. I do want to talk about the power scaling just a little bit, is because that was a big problem that we kind of discussed early on in the movie. Was like, why is Godzilla so small versus why is Kong gonna get bigger or what, right? And I guess essentially the discussion, the answer that we had is the fact that the scaling of 2014 is a little different, I guess. Maybe San Francisco was just smaller back then. Or Hawaii was just smaller or something like that. But they really, or maybe just the way the lens shot it. But I guess when you really think about it, King of the Monsters was more of an accurate scaling of Godzilla in particular sense to Godzilla versus Kong. So it's not too overly in the beginning it's a little weird to see them kind of the same weight or whatever, and weight class, but you start to get kind of used to it after a while, and you see that Kong has been around for a minute, even has kind of like a beard going on type of deal, so it's not so unlikely after a while. Furthermore, you do they do some things with Godzilla that I was so intrigued by. 2014, I think, really had a lack of some actual fights or something like that. Like, it was just like a lot of slow movement, where King of the Monsters had very like reptilian type fights. I suppose, like, it was kind of hard because most of these people, most of the in King of the Monsters, most of the creatures had no hands. They had no range, but it was actually kind of cool to see the way Godzilla would fight someone with more of a humanoid form like Kong, and I think that worked really well in this sense. So overall, for my non-spoiler part of this review, definitely check it out. If you like the other if you like the other Godzilla movies, you're gonna love it. If you like the Skull Island movie, you're gonna love this movie. The human story is like whatever, man. Like, and I've said this before, even with King of the Monsters, ain't nobody trying to go see this movie for caring about human feelings and everything. It does kind of get taken down a few notches or whatever, and you're just kind of like, hurry up. And the plot itself is kind of whatever. But take it for what it's worth. There's never been. I honestly don't think there's ever, with the exception of maybe Final Wars, I believe, with the alien kung fu fight scenes and martial arts or whatever. There's never really been a great Godzilla movie that the story itself was like amazing, like the human plot element. But I do feel like there was too many humans in this story, and too many plot devices that suddenly, in very coincidentally, all sort of came together at the same moment. A lot of these people were not necessary. A lot of these people were not necessarily necessary in this movie, but it didn't take away as much from the plot like King of the Monsters or so. But I do feel like King of the Monsters had a simpler plot and a better course correction, whereas Godzilla versus Kong, like, I think what they were trying to do was make us excited, the fact that they were combining it, like some of these actors from both movies. But honestly, I don't even recognize anybody from Skull Island. If Tom Hiddleston was in the movie, that would have been kind of cool. Brie Larson, anybody, but no, I don't think there was really most situations here. Now we're moving on into spoiler territory here, so this is just a warning. I'm giving you a warning right now. It's spoiler time, all right? We are now activating the comments here, so you can see what people in Twitch also said. It's an international portion. You can find the Japanese version. Okay, cool. So Godzilla whooped King Kong. Godzilla beat the shit out of Kong, dude. Like, I loved every fucking moment of that shit, son. Again, this is spoiler warning. There are essentially 3 fights, 3 rounds. These dudes had 3 rounds. The first round, undeniably, you got to give it to Godzilla, and that was in his world, his element. So it was like, all right, okay. Kong don't know how to fucking swim, whatever. That was round 1. The second round, that's a draw. I don't know what that white dude was smoking in the movie when he said he gave it to Kong, but no, he did. No, he did not, dude. Kong looked out of breath. Like, that shit ended Avenger style with Stormbreaker, and they just like got separated or whatever. You saw Godzilla got straight up almost right away. And then obviously the third round, I was worried. I thought they were gonna have a BVS moment there, but that was it. That was basically Godzilla. Like I said earlier, Godzilla literally put in his foot. How you have somebody have his foot on a nigga's neck? No, sorry, it wasn't on his neck. It was on his fucking chest. How you gonna get back up like that? This dude had his foot on Kong's chest, being like, talking all that shit, talking all that shit. What? I was so afraid that little deaf girl was gonna run up here because like that legit was that was legit a BVS moment there. And there was even one part where Kong was just like, I'm like, yo, is this dude gasping for air? Is he trying to say something to Godzilla right now? And I thought that little deaf girl was gonna run up there like, no, don't. He's my friend. Or some shit like that. But nah, they wrapped it up real well. Kong was all out of breath. Godzilla literally beats this dude within an inch of his life. This dude tried getting up, said, I'm still standing. I'm still passed out. Kong was asleep the majority of this movie, dude. He got TK'd. They had to defibs this man back to life. They had to defibs this creature back to life to get this dude back up and shit. And then finally, the bonus round, which I thought was a really cool ending, which we all kind of saw it coming. Mecha Godzilla. And I mentioned this here in my story earlier on when the movie just finished. Is I feel like I feel like it probably, I mean, I'm not opposed to the fact that they used Mecha Godzilla, but the plot in itself was just kind of silly. Like it didn't really, I didn't really have much of a context or sort of feeling for it, and or connection for it, and it was just kind of silly the way they used it. But I've seen much worse third acts, honestly, so it wasn't great, but it wasn't so bad either. Personally, I kind of felt like they should have tried to make a little more connectivity, and they did kind of where they used the skull of Ghidorah. I feel like if they could have use some sort of like mecha Ghidorah instead, I felt like that probably would have had a little more context to what they were trying to do with the movie, and try to use Ghidorah's reanimated corpse instead, and then you see Godzilla, Kong, teaming up, and even if they just had like two of the Ghidorah's heads, you saw them punching both of them back. Like, I don't know, something like that. I just felt like Mecha Godzilla's design could have been a little bit better and a little more thicker. But there were, you could see a lot of influences from Avengers in this movie, which in BVS on top of that. I mean, there were times where, Mecha Godzilla had this kind of like Iron Man rocket flying punch type of deal. Obviously, Stormbreaker. They opened up the Bifrost in this movie, which was silly, but you take it really is, and I hate using this term, but it really is kind of a popcorn movie. You just go for the entertainment and you have a good time and you sit back and relax. So I thought there were really the good things. I really enjoyed this movie because I've enjoyed the previous movies, and I thought this was a crowning achievement. There's talks the fact that this is essentially Godzilla's last licensed movie through Toho, and it's really up to Toho if they want to continue Godzilla within the legendary story, right? And if this is Godzilla's final movie, then so be it. It's really hard what to say, because King of the Monsters didn't do as well as they wanted it to, and I personally feel like this movie should do well if we were in normal situations, but we aren't. So it's going to be a really hard thing to judge. But I would love to see Godzilla come back for more movies. But if they're really if this is it, then this is a great way to end it with Godzilla. Furthermore, though, what I do feel that would probably be the best sort of continuation here is just develop a few more Kong movies instead. Let Kong world grow. We see this whole Hollow Earth thing going on. Build up on Kong, and then when the time is right, whatever happens in the Kong movies, whether it be bringing in space invaders, which could lead to Space Godzilla, you know, things like that. I don't know. I don't know. If there's a power shift in Hollow Earth or whatever like that, something happens, right? And that is when Kong needs to go find Godzilla. Our Godzilla, as most of the time, as we saw in this movie, Godzilla will find you, right? Because he still is the protector. He's the top dog here. We could say Kong became king of a different world, right? But our Hollow Earth or whatever. But yeah, Godzilla will always be the protector of planet Earth and the balance of power. Whenever the paradigm shifts. So, you know, I'm fine with whichever direction they go. You know, if people are feeling like a Godzilla fatigue, I completely understand. This was a good way to end it. We got the battle we want to, that everybody's been wanting to see for generations now. This was, I can't imagine I can't imagine they would have, how they would have done it any way better. Honestly, this was a really good movie, so I recommend it. Okay, give Godzilla his final goodbye. No, don't kill. I don't want. Please don't kill him. You know, please don't kill him. I do recommend, if you can, watch it in IMAX. You might really enjoy it. If you really can, check this movie out in 4DX. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of scenes that are very like, if you get motion sickness, this is a little hard to sit through sometimes. It's a lot of moving around and a lot of shaking and a lot of changing with your perception of what's up and what's down, especially with Hollow Earth. But I enjoyed it. So, all right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for checking out this review. If you like this one, make sure you check out my other reviews on other WB movies like the Zack Snyder Cut, our Justice League, and we got Mortal Kombat, I think, coming up fairly soon. I'm going to enjoy this HBO Max subscription I just signed up for. This was a great ride, man. I really enjoyed it, and it definitely brought a smile to my face. Full reaction for Godzilla vs. Kong is now on Patreon. You can check that out. And make sure you join me every week on Twitch for the most part, as we find some movies to watch together, and we have a pretty good time. Till next time, long live the king. Godzilla.